Hello, and welcome. Today we're going to be talking about mindfulness in the digital age and kind of what it means. The age that we are living in is often referred to as the information age or the digital age. We are saturated with data from all angles 24/7 relentlessly, it seems. Emails, text messages, social media notifications, news alerts, and advertisements, of course. And of course, the list goes on. We are undeniably more connected now than we have been ever before in human history. And yet, it's also accurate to say that we are paradoxically more disconnected from ourselves than ever before in human history. How does this paradox arise, and what do we do about it? In the modern day, we are often lost in a sea of digital information, seeking validation through likes and shares, comparing our own life with the highlight reels of others' existences through their feeds, and craving constant stimulation in one way or another. I mean, how many of us always have a podcast, always have music, always have something playing just to avoid the silence? The Buddhist teaching tells us that craving and desire is the root and cause of suffering. The Buddhist teaching tells us that craving and attachment is the very root itself of our suffering. But in today's digital era, we are systematically trained to crave and attach ourselves to things. In a way, it's as if we are being trained to be perpetually dissatisfied, always craving more, always wanting more, and never really being happy with what we have in this very moment. This is where I think Buddhism and its teaching can really help us in this instance. It can give us a breath of fresh air from this frantic-paced existence we find ourselves in the modern age. This, of course, is the teaching of mindfulness, which is one of the cornerstones of the Buddhist teaching. Mindfulness is the capacity to be fully aware to the best of our abilities to this very present moment, without judgment and without attachment, to truly be right here and right now. However, it's important to clarify that mindfulness isn't about fleeing from this world that we find ourselves in, particularly this digital world. And it's also not about demonizing the technology that allows you and I to have conversations like this one. The idea isn't to escape reality, but to be with it in a more present and conscious manner, instead of distracted from it. It's about transforming the relationship that we have with these digital devices that have completely transformed our lives and understanding them in a new light, or at least stopping to reflect them in a more mindful and artful way. And this, I think, is a big part of modern day mindfulness. Continuing to be in the world, but not of it. To navigate distractions and cultivate more presence and inner peace in this digital age, we must first recognize the nature of our mind. The Buddha said, "The mind is everything. What you think, you become." If we spend most of our days unconsciously consuming vast amounts of digital content, our mind will take the shape of a restless entity that is constantly craving and constantly looking to escape this present moment, beyond this very self, beyond you. The mind is like water. It will take the shape of whatever vessel you choose to pour it in. The good news is that we have the ability to shape our own minds through intentional practices that you can do very easily and very quickly. Mindfulness helps us to recognize the habitual patterns of our minds and how to constructively build towards something that we would consider a more wholesome and present state of being, one where we don't have to be constantly caught up in all of these distractions. It can act as an anchor in the stormy seas of this ever-invasive digital world, keeping us stable amidst the waves of constant information and constant stimulation. But how do we approach this and do this in practical terms? Well, we can start by setting clear boundaries for our digital consumption. You can create boundaries. You can create specific times for checking email notifications and social media, rather than being continuously available. You can designate digital or technology-free zones in your home where you can spend more time connecting with others and yourself on a more profound level, reading books, doing hobbies that you enjoy, or anything else than just sitting there and consuming, which I think we all can fall into at all times. I know I have, and I'm almost certain that everyone else has as well. We can fall down these rabbit holes of scrolling Instagram or TikTok or Reddit or whatever social media app or whatever it is that you like to do. Another thing that you can do is incorporate mindful pauses throughout your day, even if they're just for a couple seconds. These are moments where you intentionally disconnect yourself from the digital world and take time to really be with yourself and the present moment. How are you feeling? What's going on in your world? What's going on in your life? Looking around and experiencing the world right here and right now, instead of experiencing it through a screen or through a podcast or anything else. Your unique, novel experience of just this present moment. These seemingly insignificant actions can bring about real, significant changes to our lives and transform us into being more present, less angrier, and happier people overall, where we aren't driven by our cravings at all times and in all places. It gives us a second to breathe, a second to be ourselves, a second to really connect with this present moment. And in all of this, it can be really frustrating. So we have to remember to be compassionate, both for ourselves and for others, especially when we get started. Because detaching ourselves from those cravings and attachments of constant simulation and distraction can be hard sometimes, but that's perfectly okay. Just the act that you're trying is the most important thing. In a world that is often harsh and judgmental, a gentle act of self-compassion can be the most radical kind of defiance. When we notice ourselves getting lost in the digital maze, we shouldn't scold ourselves and say how badly we're doing, but be proud of ourselves for recognizing that we've been getting lost in it, and that it's totally okay. In this wild world of infinite information, in this digital age, in this information age, we can use mindfulness as a way to reconnect with the reality of the present moment. Even though that digital age is pretty freaking cool, that it lets you see wonderful things, that it lets you share moments and connect with others that would have been lost to the sands of time in a different age. I hope this has helped you. If you enjoyed this content, please consider liking and subscribing. Otherwise, I'm Silas Day. Have a wonderful day, and I hope you find a mindful moment and some radical self-compassion in this wild, wild world.